Well, that was odd. I usually have my alarm set to go off 1 minute before showtime, and it felt later, and sure enough, it was. And for some reason, it had set itself till uh, 1 minute before showtime, if tomorrow were showtime. So, hey, welcome to the show. This is ADRAMADA, another Dave Rush Ask Me Anything Digital Alchemy. Come for the shirt, stay for the news and the projects. And I am your host, the aforementioned Dave Rush, also known as Commodore ADRAMADA, making you the proud, the brave, the Armada, the ADRAMADA Armada. Hey, by the way, if anybody ever needs to communicate with me on back channel, I haven't passed out my phone number. Never mind. You gotta DM me on Discord. I don't have that notification turned off. I beg your pardon. But I'm healthy. Just old sinus nonsense. Well, okay, so what's cooking here? This is ADRAMADA. We get together once a week, Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Time on this very YouTube channel and talk about tech. We love tech, and we're here to learn about it and to disseminate it. And topics are wide-ranging. Today we are truly ranging wide, going out of the bounds of computers. No, computers are related to this. You know, what are computers not related to, right? We can talk about astronomy. Hey, we use computers. And we can talk about DNA. We use computers. So there's not much. Petting your puppy, but that's not very tech, though it is fun. Anyway, so we celebrate technology in all of its many flavors and formats. We're doing this show live on Thursday, June 6th, if you're watching this on archive. And if you are watching this on archive, why? Join the show. We got people here. We want your... See, we have people here. I'm reading their comments already, and maybe I shouldn't. Okay, well, one of the things I try to do every week is events in history on this day, which... You know, I wonder if that's right. I wonder if I should do the events in history that were over the last week. No. It's the day of the show, and if anything happened the previous 6 days that were of historical note and merit, tough. Read about yourself. So today in history, today being June 6th, this is the first time we got together in June, 1944, the D-Day invasion, Operation Overlord, began as the 82nd Airborne arrived in the French town of Saint-Mer-Église. It's Église. There's an E at the end of it. Oh, good, Jason. I'm glad you're here. Jason, I have no idea what I'm wearing. One time I got a shirt, and I didn't know what it was. I wore it, and turned out it was very offensive. This may be as well. I recognize and believe this to be some flavor of anime, but you know, I hope it's not an offensive one. You are our anime expert, so let me know how badly I insulted someone. Hey, well, anyway, let's start the show. Eep, op, ork, let's see who's here. When we talk about numbers of viewers and things like that on the show, it's not very impressive ever live, but even these little numbers with minor bumps in them, in my heart, are huge. We have more thumbs up for the show before it started than we almost ever do. So thank you for that. Appreciate that. And again, if you're watching this on archive, it doesn't help anybody other than my ego. Now, when you give a show thumbs up, it helps the YouTube algorithm direct people to content that meets their search criteria. So if somebody's going to search for DMX-512, which is what we're going to talk about today, on YouTube, the more thumbs up here, the more chances they're going to find my DMX-512 video than somebody else's. Is that of any merit? I'm not really sure. Yeah, because I think my stuff is good, and I want to share it with everybody. All right, so who's here? Tullowit, back in form, turns up 5 hours before showtime, And Shia is not here yet. So you win twice. Little Patricia Grace, half an hour before showtime until I went back in. Just checking in. So Michael insists you won. Both of us went to bed before the game was over, and I have been busier than I got family from West Virginia. Their favorite busy phrase is busier than a cat covered in crap. So there, the Shia Moonstone is here. She just didn't turn up at 6 hours before showtime. So I did not watch the game, and I haven't even looked up any info on it. So maybe you won. If you're not watching, participating in the Discord server, and I'll put the link up for that in just a second, you're missing some really great stuff. We, 2 nights ago, found a decent stream. It wasn't a good one, but it was decent, of the new Godzilla -1. It was in Japanese with English subs, and wow, what a movie. And a lot of us were talking about it. Have seen it, have not seen it, and we have preliminarily started the planning session for an online watch party to watch it. So you want to be involved in those kinds of things. So we do have a Discord server, and here is the invitation to it in the chat feed. Boom. And you can contact me that way. You can contact any of us. You can post really cool stuff. You can see really cool stuff that's posted. If you don't want to contact me there, but you do want to contact me, here's a couple of email addresses. You can catch me on X or see my occasional posts. I'm not real busy posting on there yet. But here's my X account, and here is my Mastodon account. Me. Not my intent. What I'm trying to do is encourage engagement, encourage growth, encourage the sharing of tech info. All right, so getting back then, we were looking at who's here and what the world has to say. Yes, Godzilla. And we're live. No, it's not a Radiohead song. Boy, do you like Radiohead. ADRAMADA, Armada. That does sound... I can hear Radiohead doing a title like that. That's a winner. And Jason Helms, up and about and amongst the living. Good for you, my friend. Very curious about this watch party. Yeah, so we've got to talk about this on Discord. I am available all day tomorrow. I'm back in, and I don't have any commitments this weekend that require planning or packing or anything like that, staging. Okay, Japanese animation, never seen it, but heard of it. I think I've seen the title as I've run across anime things, but I don't know. I got it because it was $1. And that sort of fits in the format of what I do with the grand t-shirt selection. You're more of a D-Ball Z, GT, and Super. Shia Moonstone is amongst us as well. Good evening. Hey, thank you, everybody. The names that come to mind, and you're not the only ones, to Shia and to Patricia Grace and everybody else who does this for the retweets and for the forwards of LinkedIn posts and things like that. I appreciate that. I was just about to post asking where Shia is. Okay, Shia. Noel. I think, yeah. Busier than a one-legged work at IHOP. My 2 IHOP jokes, nah, they're offensive. Not like I care. I'm a dinosaur and I'm old. Somebody cancels me. This won't be any great loss. No, but I'm not going to do it. I'll do it on Discord if anybody asks me. Just somebody say IHOP on Discord after the show, and I'll give you my 2 takes on IHOP. They're good stuff. Jason, if it was $1, well spent. Forgot what someone said. Someone says, hey, I'd be stoked to find a shirt for $1. That's right. Thank you, Shia. Well, let's see. What did we do last week? What are we going to do this week? And all that stuff. Where did that come from? So last week we did a show on tag VLANs, and I showed you how to set it up, which is basically a two-part process. One, you enable support for tag VLANs in your managed switch, and then you define your trunk ports. This port is going to connect to another switch, or this port is going to connect to a router, and then you can specify which tag VLAN traffic is allowed to pass through there. Okay, done with the switch. Now all you have to do is go to your computers that are going to connect to this switch, your printers, your computers, whatever devices you have that will connect to the switch, and give the Mac frame a VLAN ID. And it's done differently in Linux, which we didn't do. No big deal. It's easy to look up in that because I've given you the principles. How to do it in Windows, also pretty easy, but a surprising direction how to do it. You have to do it in Device Manager, Network Interface Card, Properties Advanced. And then you got to find the right advanced property that is VLAN tagging. There is no standard name or term that works there. And in Macs, very simple menu item that it's always consistent all the time because it's Macs. So that's a kind of a cool thing. One of the things I didn't mention about VLAN tagging is envision this challenge. You've got 100 staff members running a computer. Let's make them all run Windows. Or 200, or 500, or 1,000, or something like that. You've got two ways that you're going to set up VLAN tags on them. One of them would be for you and or a staff to fan out maybe a couple nights and start configuring those machines. But one of the really cool things that you can do to make life really, really easy is you can set up VLAN tags in a Windows machine with a PowerShell script. So all they have to do is log into the server environment, the AD environment, and they hit the login script, it comes down, it sets up the MAC tag, there's no rebooting or anything like that, so quick and simple and painless. And you can build variables into there to determine which VLAN that they should be on, and it makes life a lot easier for this kind of distribution. All right, how about tonight? What are we doing there? You go over here and you click this button. And man, isn't that lovely? That's QLC Plus. We're going to talk at lighting control technology. And when I started this, I had in mind what I do on a regular basis, and that's show lights, RGB lights and moving heads and lasers and things like that. But lighting control, computerized lighting control goes so far beyond that. It's great for exterior architectural lighting. It's great for in-home or in-office residential lighting. So I'm going to talk about one of the 6 major ways to implement intelligent lighting control. We're going to do what's called DMX, or more fully DMX-512 control. And I had a tough time with this. I had grandiose ideas. I want to teach you everything. And I could do that in a semester, at an hour a class or 40 minutes a class. And so I had to scale back because I only got 30 minutes or so. And you'll see. It'll still be valuable. It'll still be useful. If you need or want more after this is done, you want to get into the real deep nitty-gritty, we can. But I'm going to give you enough information that you could go out in the morning, get 1 or 2 pieces of inexpensive gear, and be up and running, and play with it and experiment with it. And it can get much more complicated and much more expensive than that, if you so choose. All right. This week what happened this week that anybody cares about. I had 2 gigs. On Saturday, I did a stage job at a place about an hour and a half away or so, maybe not quite that. Yeah, about that much. But that's easy, right? You wheel stages in, you set them up, you put some skirting around them, and a set of stairs, and okay, enjoy the stage, guys. And it was a 9-person band up on there, and it doesn't have a name, but I will get a video of them up on one of my platforms. I haven't picked which one yet. But the guy who is, let's call him the lead. He's not the lead singer, but he is the band and puts everybody together and does all that stuff. It was his parents' 50th wedding anniversary, and he's up in Montana. Came down back home to do this thing, and he's in a very similar business to my side business. He doesn't rent temporary portable audio video gear. He does AV installations in stages and theaters and offices and homes that are upper end and things like that. But he found me through the grapevine and said, hey, I can't mix the show while I'm playing. So would you also do audio engineering? Sure, love to. He said, here's the mixer you'll be using. And I said, okay, well, that's good news and bad news. I am familiar with that mixer because I have its sister model in my stable of rentals. I've never used it. It's powerful. It's sophisticated. I've never had a need for me to personally use it. So I rent it out to people who know what they're doing. It's a really cool mixer. It's a digital mixer. And you can save settings on an SD card or a thumb drive. And so if you're a band and you're traveling to another town and you don't want to drag your X32 or M32 along with you, you just bring your micro SD card and you rent a local one, you pop it in, and it's all configured and ready to go. So that's what this thing was, similar to my model that I've never used. So I spent a week or so experimenting with mine and doing tutorials and things like that. And it went great, and he didn't ask me to do anything really deep or things like that, but it was kind of cool. After the first 20 minutes or so, besides doing fader monkey stuff, he said do this, okay, do this, and he said do this. After a while, I get comfortable with that, with what's going on in the band, and then I can apply some of my own mixing style to it. That was really fun. It was in a big metal shop building as part of a farm or ranch that didn't have sufficient air conditioning. So they got it all blowing down on the floor, and the dancers and the revelers and things like that. And I'm doing my thing, and I said, okay, well, where's the FOH, where's the mixer going to be? Oh, you're going to be up there. And he points up to this loft. It was just roasting up there. I spent about 4.5, 5 hours up there at 110 degrees, just pouring off. Lost a lot of weight, but it's just water weight, so that didn't help. Yesterday, another gig. I was 2.5 hours away in the opposite direction in the lovely little village of Nacogdoches, Texas. And that was a fun, interesting one because you go into this particular event was I got a pretty decent idea of what I'm doing, but I'm not sure what the scope of it is. So I brought a lot of gear because better to have and not need than the other way around. And I used about 20% of what I took. This was in the news this week. This is Dr. Pepper. Dr. Pepper strawberry or some berry flavor. It just took over Pepsi as second place behind Coca-Cola as the #1 selling soft drink. I don't know if it's in America or the world or whatever. Pepsi slid into third. I guess I blame myself. My family likes Dr. Pepper. I don't dislike it. It's okay. It's what I have in the fridge. I'm a Pepsi guy. Do not like Coke. I can't say at all. I'll drink it. But so Dr. Pepper slides into second place. Let's see, last of these things, upcoming personal project. So I have a pair of Daily Driver Linux boxes up here. One of them is my actual Daily Driver, and one of them is my developmental unit. Before I put certain things on my Daily Driver, I'll try it out on my development unit. It runs Ubuntu 22.04. Came out in April of 22, 04 of 82. 22. And it's called Jammy Jellyfish. The new long-term release is 2404, came out this past April. Noble Numbat. And I'm going to upgrade. I have attempted upgrades on a variety of Linux whole versions in the past and have almost never been successful. Mostly because they were all published hacks. You'll drink whatever, huh? I'll drink Zevia's. I think I know what you're talking about. It's that soft drink with stevia and this much flavor in it. Anyway, so Ubuntu actually has a published procedure on what to do. So I'm going to try that on my development machine. If it goes badly, I don't care. It's a development, and I'll happily shine a new copy of 2404, and I got 5 years of support left on my 2204, so I won't change that. But if it goes well, then I will do that again on my regular Daily Driver, and we'll see how it goes. I'll let you know. This one's important, guys. This one's important. If you're watching live, if you're watching on archive, pay attention to this. I need some help. On Thursday, like a day that would be like today, August 22nd. So, what is it, 2.5 months away, something like that? All of July, most of August, and 2 months, 2.5, something like that. I will not do a show. I will be attending an event, and I cannot and would not break away from this event. For that, I'll be in Ohio. I am seeking someone who wants to do the show that day. I will reach out to some of my associates and contacts and things like that. The ones that I want can't because of competitive issues and things like that. And I'm not saying that about you. I haven't reached out to any of you who watch this regularly. But if you've got something interesting, if you have an interest, show format be completely up to you. I will help in advance. I have time to do that. I can prep news articles and slides and anything like that. But you may have my airways for an hour on Thursday, August 22nd. If you've got a guest in mind, if you've got somebody you know who thinks they might want to do the show, needs your help, 2 months warning. I'm going to put this notice out every week until it happens. And if I don't get a sub that week, there'll be no show that week. Not that big of a deal, right? All right, where are we at here? Cool. Let's do news of the week. Let's actually see who's popped in during all of that. Oh, he got some buffering. He's back. Okay, sorry. I didn't see anything happen here. I wouldn't mention if it was something good. Plenty of flavor. Okay. I drink Pepsi or Mexican Coke. Wow. Okay, real Pepsi then, because Mexican Coke isn't in diet because that's pure cane sugar. That's huge in this area, especially with the mobile population that we have. But that and Topo Chico, mineral water from Mexico, very, very popular, kind of niche marketed down here. All right, moving on. News. That means we transition here. And then we do that, and then we do this, and a few news items. The Chinese have had a lunar success so far. Several phases have all gone very smoothly. I don't know how to pronounce this, so I'm going to call it Chang'e 6. It landed on the dark side this past Sunday successfully. Good footage of that. It dug for a day and got a couple of kilos of moon dust and moon, it's not dirt, It's regolith, which means there's no organic materials and no worm droppings or anything like that in it. And they had a bunch of other experiments from other countries that they released, and they're doing their thing. And after that, they launched and connected with an orbiting return module, and now it's on its way back to Earth. That, I don't know if that's true. I did not see specific news that says they successfully docked and launched, but everything up to the blast off from the moon and headed back into lunar orbit to join up has all gone smoothly. I haven't heard any bad news about it, so I think no news is good news. It's about a 3-week trip back. It will land, it is planned to land in Inner Mongolia on June 25th. And this is the first human sampling and return mission from the far side of the moon. So it's challenging. It used to be, up until apparently the last week or so, that you could install Windows 11 and bypass having to create a Microsoft account. They killed the bypass method. So if you're going to install Windows 11, you're going to be making or using an existing Microsoft account. It's not an ms.com account, but it's going to have to be some kind of email account. They're going to have your info. And don't use a throwaway account that you actually throw away. You'll need that to log in and to get login credentials and things like that when things go bad. I love this story. I put this picture up on the Discord server and told everybody that this was going to be part of the tech news this week, and so here it is. I'm entitling my notes here, Post-Mortem Cryogenics. An Australian firm cryogenically freezes man after death in hopes of revival. Okay, the part of the story that I love, right? We know this story. This has been going on for many decades. There are rumors that Walt Disney had his head frozen after he died, removed and frozen, with the intent of thawing it out and curing him of whatever killed him when that technology exists. And there have been lots of other cryogenic freezing companies, all with the same goal. So here's another one. Let's do that. But what I love about this story is the first sentence of the story. An Australian man underwent, here we go, bold text, the first successful cryonics, or cryogenic if you like, suspension from a company called Southern Cryonics and Cryopathic. I'm sorry, the picture you're looking at was a successful cryonics suspension. Freezing something that's dead is pretty easy to call successful. I'm not impressed. I will be impressed when they thaw it out and do something positive with it. The problem with freezing cellular things is the cell walls, the cellular content expands and bursts the cell walls. That's why, you know what? You want to tenderize your steak without pounding the heck out of it? Throw it in the freezer. Those cell walls will break apart and they will self-tenderize when it's thawed out. So, freezing a corpse in 2024, in my mind, does not qualify as the first successful cryonic suspension. Also, I love the business model, right? How much do we charge to freeze the person? And okay, well, he's frozen. Now what do you want us to do with him? Well, keep him frozen. Yeah, there'll be a monthly fee for that. We got to have freezer space and generators and maintenance. So it's a very potentially expensive thing. Hopefully the wealthy do this and leave that as part of their estate, their maintenance. Well, that's not what I expected. Did I not do pictures for this, or did they just not make it over? I remember doing pictures for it. Okay, well, we'll do as quick news stories then. ChatGPT had a major outage this Tuesday. Subheadline: ChatGPT major outage raises questions amidst whistleblower warnings and reckless race toward AI dominance. What they implied in the article is a whistleblower and or associates, people who were influenced by the whistleblower, may have performed some kind of attack on ChatGPT, whatever their motivation may be, the whistleblower or their belief that AI development, dominance, or whatever the ultimate goal is, may trigger attacks on AI platforms. And here's another one I did a slide for, and it didn't print up, so let me get my head in here then. Stop it. There. James Webb Space Telescope, JWST, discovery, which was actually discovered last year, but they just put it in the news this week once they've got kind of their facts and analysis done. They have discovered what is so far the oldest known galaxy in the universe using current technology and analysis. It's called Jades, had a bunch of letters and numbers after that, and I can read to you. A pair of distant galaxies revealed, blah, 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 calculated to be 290 million years after the dawn of cosmology, Big Bang. They're changing the name, they're morphing it a little bit, but either way, that makes it 30 million years older than the previous record holder. And they don't describe distance. We can't say that it's 100,000 light years away, because when you start working on the edges of the cosmos like that, those numbers don't work right, because speed of light is dramatically impacted as these galaxies are moving so rapidly away from galactic central point. And so they use redshift values. And previously, the distance record holder, the higher the number, the farther away it is. So the previous record holder had a redshift value of 13.2. Jade measures 14.32. That is a huge difference. Stand by, I got to do a 5-second response. Okay. And in Linux news, no slides on these, and that was intentional. Just 3 notable Linux newses. Parrot OS. We did a show on Parrot OS. Call it a competitor to Kali Linux. They just released their distro with support for the Raspberry Pi 5. Right, stuff that works on 4s doesn't work on 5 because it's totally different CPU. But Parrot OS 6.1 has Raspberry Pi support. Kali had their announcement 2 days ago. They have a whole new point release. It's 2024.2. Fresh, new, shiny release. New tools. Comes with Genome 46. And LibreOffice latest update, 24.2.4. I love LibreOffice. Well, I did a poor job of cleaning that up. Okay. All right, back to see who's here and what they're talking about, and then we'll get on to DMX. Y'all gonna make me lose my mind. Up in here, up in here. Come on, that was pretty good. I know when I sing poorly, most of the time. Oh, okay. Finish up with her. Please tell me y'all have Duke's mayo. It's in the fridge. And you turned us on to it. My wife likes Duke's, and she likes avocado mayo. The only thing I like mayo on is a BLT. They killed the bypass months ago. That's why I went to Windows on my gaming rig a few months back. Okay. Yeah, you would know that. You're in that day to day. Well, it just made the news feeds that cross my path. You prefer carbonite. Don't make me do that. Thank you, Patricia Grace. Trying to come up with a Star Wars puns that all lead down a slippery slope. And it was. Very good. Mayo is evil. You know Miracle Whip was named after the invention used to create it? The guy who came up with Miracle Whip had to create a special gigantic mixer to whip air into oil and whatever. It's not oil and eggs, but it's not mayonnaise. But that big mixer that he created, he called it the Miracle Whip. And they named the product after that. I don't know why I know that. Tasty clips of that. Avocado mayo. It's very good. You people. All right, well, let's talk a bit about DMX. That means back to slideshow. And Dave's effervescent head. So the way I did this, a couple of notes here, and then I'm doing this all on slides and show and tell. I'm not plugging in or demonstrating anything. I'm not going to demonstrate the software. I'm here to lay down the foundations of lighting control and DMX-512 in particular. It ain't the only game in town. So I've got about 5 notes on here. I'm going to cover these 5 notes. Then I'm going to do the slideshows and fill them in as I can. So DMX-512 is a daisy-chained lighting control. It takes, you're not going to see this very well in my little micro headshot, but here is it's not an RGB light, it has other colors than that, but we'll call it an RGB light. And this is also known as a PAR light. PAR is something like PAR 64s and PAR 56s and PAR 38s. And each of those numbers represents a 1/4 inch. So PAR 64, divide that by 4, that'll tell you that's 8 inches across, whatever it is. This one, I think, is a PAR 56. Anyway, so there's a whole bunch of different colored LEDs in here. There's red ones and green ones and blue ones and amber ones and some other stuff like that. To make it work, there's 2 ports here. There are 3-pin ports. These can come in 3-pin or 5-pin. And there's an input port and an output port. And we hook the input port to a cable going to some kind of lighting controller box. And then the output port goes to the next light fixture in a daisy chain, and so on and so on and so on. So that's what we mean when we call it a daisy chain. And it's a serial protocol. 1 wire carries data. There's 2 wires, but we can say 1. And it's just a string of 1s and 0s that goes into here and says, hey, do this stuff. And he says, okay, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to retransmit what you just sent into me out here so it can go down to the next one. It gets a nice clean signal, gets regenerated every time it goes into a fixture and gets forwarded downstream. DMX-512 uses what's called universes. Each universe can have 512 control channels in it. And I'll get further into that in a moment. It's not the only lighting protocol in town. There's ArtNet. which is really cool. It's connected with unshielded twisted pair Ethernet. Supports 256 universes, 512 channels per universe. That's used for big lighting events. DMX-512 is good for small and medium-sized one. I've done it with, a few dozen lights. I could probably do about 200 lights if I had to, but I've never needed to do anything bigger than that. Other protocols exist. Dolly, I'll get into that. 0 to 10V, PWM. All right, so here we go. It's all slides. We'll start with this first one, DMX-512, DMX, digital multiplexing. It's a serial protocol. It doesn't use RS-232 serial ports. It uses RS-485 serial ports. You may also hear that called CAN bus. It's good for really long cables. It's not dependent on media. It could be copper cables. It could be fiber optic cables, whatever. It's used to control color, intensity, and motion. There's Dolly, digital addressable lighting, blah, blah, blah. It's good for commercial and residential lighting. ArtNet, good for big installation. It uses Ethernet. 0 to 10V. This is a universal unidirectional dimming protocol. This is what we used to use a million years ago. It's still out there in certain cases, but it doesn't have the capability. And it runs 0 volts to 10 volts across this wire. It's really kind of cool. And you can do wireless protocols, Zigbee and Bluetooth and things like that. You can convert from one protocol to another. So we're looking inside a light right now. Up on top we have this lens, and behind it are some colorful LEDs. Red, green, blue, amber, and under my head is ultraviolet. Lights come in all kinds of things. And it has a dimmer channel for each of those LEDs. Dimmer channel 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And there's a loop around all of those things for strobing. So this is a 6-channel intelligent light, or intelligent light fixture. It's got a DMX in and a DMX out on the controller. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send a command in here that says, hey, channel 1, implement this much dimming. And everything in DMX is on a scale of 0 to 255. 8 bits, right? 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128. Sorry, the 1 doesn't count because it's 0 and 1. 256. So I might say channel 1, do 125, about half strength. Channel 2, do 10. Channel 3, do 200. And that will put an appropriate set of brightness on the red, green, and blue lights. Amber, I might say 0. UV, I might say 0. Strobing, 0. I don't want it to strobe, or maybe I do. And so these, with their various intensities, will come up with some kind of color. That's cool. So what I have to do on any given fixture is define the first channel number. It's not actually going to be channel 1 or 2. So using either some switches or an electronic control, up-down control, something like that, I'm going to set the first channel. So on this light fixture, I made the first channel 9. And that means the second channel is 10, and then 11, 12, 13, and strobe will be channel 14. This will make sense as I go on. But what I can make it short for you right now. How about I get another fixture that's totally different and has different controls in it? Well, its channel 1 might be strobe, or it might be spin the head, or it might be turn the laser on. And that's not what I want to do when I send something to channel 9. So I'm going to change his starting DMX channel at 16. And then however many channels he has in him, let's make a 4-channel. It'll be 16, 17, 18, and 19. Okay, got it? So that's how we keep them differentiated. How about I want lights to look and act exactly the same? Well, I'll use same make and model so they have the same usage channel. and I will make all of their first DMX channel 9. So whenever I send a signal to channel 9 from my controller, all of these lights will do the same thing that that signal says. Turn red on to 125 dimming. This will make sense. Don't panic. So controllers come in all kinds of flavors. This is a really simple 3-channel one. It's got some pre-selected colors over here in the buttons on the left. 3 channels on what looks like faders. That's where you set, slide down to the bottom, and that's sending level 0. And if I slide that at the top, that sends to level 255. There you go. Glad to hear that, Jason. Cool. And there's a blackout button over here on the right side and a strobe button. And I can manually control the RGB mix, or I can use the preset colors. So that's a nice, simple one. How about something a little bit more complicated? This is an elation operator. Good for full 512 channels. You got to select channel banks in 16 at a time. And it's got motion controls for moving heads and all kinds of goodies like that. And here's a really common one. You can pick this one up for 25 bucks. Cheap, no-name, Chinese. And they usually don't have an in port and an out port, just an output port. So I'm going to take the output port in the bottom picture here and cable it to the input port of a first light. And then the output port of that first light to the second light. Oops. Okay, that's exactly what I wanted to do. Just did it in the wrong order. So let me show you real world. This is the second simplest kind of DMX controller. It's good for 12 channels. It's got 6 faders plus a blackout fader or a master fader. And then this button over here, I can make that channel 7 through 16. Is it 6? Yeah, this is 6. So, 7 through 13. I love this box. I use this box for every gig that I do. Not as the primary operator controller, but as my test controller, because while it has a plug here, can't see it very well, but there is a battery pocket in here. And so I can take this and run this with battery and do my testing without hooking up a big DMX controller. Here's a little more sophisticated one. 16 channels across the faders, multiple banks of them. I can go to bank 1, bank 2, bank 3 and get all 512 channels on here. These kinds of controllers are really cool, and then upside down, because I can do a series of settings and save the scene. So I can, and then do this, scene 2 and scene 3. And so when I'm doing a play or something like that, I don't have to look at notes and say, okay, bring up channel 1 to this and channel 2 to that and channel 3 to 0. At this point in the play, we use scene 1, and it happens. At this point in the play or show, scene 2. And then I can also, those are static, create sequences with timing in there. There's a step timer I can do here, or I can do external timing. So I can make things happen. I can bring them up and bring them up slowly and just turn it on. And it all happens in sequence. I don't have to press any other buttons except stop. Over here, got a little joystick in here for manually controlling moving headlights. Moving headlights. Hooking them up. Here's my output. You can see that 3-pin. As I said, there's 3 pins and 5 pins. And you use, they make special DMX cables, but folks, audio cables work 99 3/4% of the time. So I plug this into here. I plug the other end into my first light. I can do very, very long runs between lights, so that's kind of cool. You can take lights that aren't intelligent and make them intelligent with a box like this. It's got a DMX input, it's got a DMX output, it's got channels. You set the channels with these dip switches in here. Starts with channel 1, starts with channel 2, whatever. And you plug traditional dimmable lights into here. So any usual, old-fashioned tungsten light or dimmable LEDs. And then you can use a DMX controller to bring them up, bring them down. I do this all the time with plays. I'll set up a rack of 8 lights on one side of a stage and a rack of 8 on the other side and control them with a controller, and they're all plugged into this, and they're just wonderful. So you can like bringing the house lights up and bringing stage lights up and bringing just this light up and light that part of the stage. These are wonderful. These are called dimmer packs. Back in that original drawing, that DMX in drawing and DMX out to a controller board, that's what that is. Just a little circuit board with a smart chip on there. And here is that same elation operator that we saw. This is what I use, or these are what I use sometimes with a big install to control a really sophisticated stage show. Again, dozens of lights. All right, that's show and tell. Moving on. This one's got some sticky stuff on it. It's gross. So this is what the connectors look like if you're using a 3-pin or a 5-pin. They're interchangeable. You can change make sure that the wires go to the right pins. It's only 2 wires and a ground wire. And this data 1, data plus 1, data minus 1, that means they're differential signals. So it's a way to ensure that noise and electromagnetic interference and things like that don't impact the signal as it goes down the wires. Add that. Oops. So here's how we wired up in the most basic way. There are very advanced and creative ways to do this, but over here on the left, lower left, we've got my DMX controller, the dedicated box type, and that's not the only game in town. We can do computer controlled with USB interfaces, or the Raspberry Pi has a DMX hat available for it. Goes into the DMX in of an intelligent light, and then out the out, and we just keep daisy chaining them on down the road. We could break out oscilloscopes and look at signals, but what I want you to see is what comes out of the controller when you slide up channel 1 to 255. It's part of a string of serial bits, just ons and offs. And here about halfway through this thing, a little bit to the left of my head, it says CH1 0-255. So there's going to be a series of bits in there that define the channel number and then the intensity that's supposed to go in. So that's going to go into the first light, and it's going to say, okay, channel 1, whatever I am, I've got a channel 1. Or maybe I don't. Maybe my first DMX channel is channel 17, so I'm going to ignore that. But if I've got a channel 1, I'm going to set its intensity or its motion or whatever to 255. And if I got a channel 2, I'm going to do the same thing. And then I'm going to retransmit all this out to the next light downstream. And one of the really cool things about DMX is what happens if I turn off my DMX controller. Not sending signals anymore. Well, the DMX standard says whatever signal was sent to the channel last time, leave it set. So if it said red is 255 the last time it got a message, and it never gets another message about 255 again because I've disconnected the controller or it ran out of battery or got it turned off, it'll still say red at 255 or whatever number I just said. So really cool. It's just a serial transmission going down those two wires differentially. So this is the same drawing as this. I just did it box style. So I got my controller over here on the left, DMX cable going out to the input of the light on the lower left. It's that same light we started out with in the very beginning of here. First channel is channel 9. Now here I set this one up so that the second one, lower right, is also first channel, channel 9. And the same for the one on the upper left, next in the chain. And the same for the upper right. They all start out with DMX channel 9. So when I send channel 9, 255, that's going to max red on all of these. They all have channel 9, and it's all connected to the red dimmer. And if I send channel 13, that'd be number 4 inside here. And that's blue, and let's make that 50. Lower left is going to be blue intensity 50 out of 250, so about 20%. Same for lower right, same for upper left, same for upper right. This is a controller running multiple universes. For each universe, there's a different DMX out. So once I've run out of 512 channels on one universe, are you going up to Coventry?
Yep, Londonderry.
Okay, we'll have fun.
Okay.
Oh, take a look at this text I just got. And then let's go back down. All right, so you can do as many universes as you've got controller outputs for, or as many controllers as you have. I did a show year and a half ago, stage show, where they kept throwing stuff at me while I was there. Hey, can you do this too? Yeah, but I wasn't planning on it. Unfortunately, I got enough equipment. I wound up setting up 3 universes, and I had to do it with 3 separate controllers because they didn't give me the planning or information. Isn't that interesting? So this is another DMX controller that's a hat for Raspberry Pi. And they make hats that are good for DMX and for ArtNet and 0 to 12V. This one is an FTL32. I also saw a controller that works on Arduino today while I was doing some slide making. Now, if you're going to use a computer-attached device like this, or maybe a USB DMX piece of software, converter, adapter, whatever, then you're going to need software on your computer that works with that. Because it's a computer, obviously it's very easy to do scenes and sequences. This can be done with buttons in a dedicated controller or through software on a computer. There is an organization out there that says DMX is nice, and ArtNet is nice, and Dolly is nice, but they are all proprietary standards. We want to make an open standard, an open hardware standard. That organization is called the Open Lighting Organization, and they have a standard that they've created. It's out there, it's doing fine. The Open Lighting Architecture is under my head. Connects computers, USB to their adapter, and they've got a hat for Raspberry Pi. So this is the first open standard to accomplish all this stuff. Almost done. There's lots of open source and proprietary applications that you can run on all major computer platforms. Windows and Macs and Linux and Raspberry Linux. There is proprietary stuff, which means open your wallet. Or you can use it free for personal use, but open your wallet if it's going to be for commercial use. And there is open source stuff, which generally isn't quite as good or quite as polished. The nature of the beast. Until we come to our friend QLC+. That is probably, even professionally, by far and away, one of the most popular lighting control pieces of software. It's the one I had at the very beginning of my opening slides. It's easy to learn. It's easy to use. It's great for small and medium installations. It's not as sophisticated as some of the commercial stuff. So, if you're going to a major blowout concert, a Taylor Swift concert, they're not going to use QLC Plus. They're going to use some serious pro stuff and ArtNet. But because it works well with medium and small installations, and because DMX-512 works well with medium and small installations, it's a very natural match. And you don't have to do these in a portable session. How are you doing? I'm running long. Sorry. Almost done. As Jason said, I think, you're doing these as fixed installations in churches. Man, that's common. Very, very common. So here is one of the screenshots from QLC Plus. It's got a lot of benefits going for it. I listed a couple of them here. One of my favorites is it's got fixture presets in here. It says, what kind of light are you working with here? And it gives you a pull-down menu. I'm this one. Oh, okay, he says, I know all of its capabilities. What channel did you put it on? Cool. Now let's start adding sequences and settings and whatever. So it's obviously easy to create and save scenes and sequences. You can integrate timing and audio into it. It's scriptable. It works on all popular OSs, supports plugins, and supports all common and popular interfaces and adapters. And that takes us back to the beginning. There's another screenshot from QLC Plus. Hey, well, kid, that's the primer on DMX. Let's see what you're talking about, and then get things ready to wind up. Won't be too long over. Just a hair. All right. It depends on color. Each light can eat multiple channels. Yes, so I have lights that are 8-channel lights, ones that are less, ones that are more, 8s that are common. Even a white light can have multiple groups of difference. Yeah, you're in it. You know this stuff. He said the 512 channels sounded big until you learned that, right? But if you got a lot of lights that are all the same, I guess it depends. If you want them all to be doing the same things, then you only eat up 8 channels. If you want them all to do different things, then it's 8 channels per system. The good news is blackout is a universal control. How many channels can one light take? Yeah. So the one that I held up here a minute ago, that white one, that's an 8-channel light. Right. Different white temperatures, everything from amber to white to UV. Very little. I used to do very basic light changes with the church. Never set it up, just show basic. But I never learned. So now you got a little bit more understanding what's happening there. So you're getting into lighting in DMX. I've got DMX to USB controller. I'm planning on using to replace our ancient light controller with a PC. Okay. Well, cool. QLC Plus. Everything I hear is seeing DMX handheld. Oh, yeah. So, look, go out tomorrow. Go to eBay tomorrow and buy a cheap RGB DMX light and get a cheap DMX controller, 3-channel, Obey 3, and a piece of audio cable. And you are ready to start testing and experimenting. You can do scenes, you can do sequences, all that, and you spent $50. Maybe less if you can find it. Borrow one from the church just so you can learn it or practice it at the church or whatever event. You'll like it. Patricia Gray is very interesting and thorough. Thank you. Well, it wasn't as thorough that I loved it, but there we go. Okay, guys, it has been as fun as it ever and always is. We'll close it down. We'll do this again next Thursday, as we always do. Until then, I wish you a great rest of the week. Take care of each other. Take serious steps to stay healthy, and if at all possible, call or visit your parents. And never forget, technology is great, but the greatest resource we have are you and I. And with that, I bid you good night. I'll see you on ADRAMADA next Thursday, the other platforms that I'm on. Until then, remember, how you do anything is how you do everything. Eep, hop, ork, ah, ah.